My name is Devai. I'm a seven-figure pay-per lead agency owner. Next 10 minutes, you'll understand the pay-per lead model to such an in-depth degree that you're able to make the strategic decision if you want to actually switch to it or start with it, to invest your valuable time in it. Because essentially what we're going to do is take the three different models, compare to retainer, compare to a single funnel buyer and an arbitrage funnel, and explain to you the whole model on an actual real life agency that does $500,000 in monthly marketing spend. So a bit more than I do, because on one of my accounts, we maybe spend like 80, right, at a 65% margin. And we're definitely trying to get there as well. But Funding Fred is a prime example of an amazing agency in a very, very lucrative and good vertical. If you haven't checked it out, I made an hour long, the most in-depth guide on choosing your pay-per-lead vertical as well. But specifically, we're going to be taking a closer look at the free funnels because pay-per-lead, as the title suggests, is just you're paying for every single lead, right? And obviously, you have replacement criteria for bad leads that might be duplicates, right? You get them twice, right? Obviously, you don't want to pay for a lead twice. Like if you're a client, right? Put yourself in their shoes. And specifically, I've basically dumbed it down to three different types of funnels, right? There's retainer, which is the worst because in pay per lead, right, you typically want to have insane scalability. And what I mean by that is you want to arbitrage every single click that comes onto your site. So for instance, let's say you have 1,000 people coming onto this site, right? In scenario A, single buyer, they might only want like good leads, right? In the specific business lending sector, good leads are, for instance, people with a high credit scores because they're more likely to pay back their loans, right? Somebody with 600 plus credit scores means they've had history of paying their stuff, right? And they're a good customer for the business lending company. However, to get those leads, you need to basically get rid of all of the other leads that came into the funnel, right? You disqualify them. So basically, for instance, if you click on, for instance, 639, and this is just an example, right? Because I wasn't able to find 600 plus exactly. But if you, for instance, click on 639 or less, right, you get disqualified for if you click on this button, and if you have that credit scores, you're not applicable to buyer A, who's gonna be paying you $80 per single business lending lead, right? So you just throw away all of this revenue that does not qualify to your client's criteria. Now, that's all great, right? That's just lost revenue. Now, the smartest people and the best business models, right? They have found a way to get three different buyers. One buyer that might want like leads at 600, one 400 to 600, and one under 400. So they're basically arbitraging and making money off every single person who visits the funnel. Specifically in this case, right, everybody who clicks on 639 or less, right, will be basically disqualified with buyer A, for instance. And in the arbitrage funnel, right, every single customer would qualify and we could get paid for, which makes the math so much more workable. And don't even start to mention retainer because you're just capped linearly. One funnel, one client, and you repeat, right? There's no scalability. You don't work with enterprise clients. In fact, right, have you ever heard of a retainer agency that did more than 500 grand? I mean, Digital Ox, right, one of the legends runs that. It's like they have basically a 3 to 4K program, I think, per month, which is already pretty high ticket. Could probably get that in home services roofing, right? But because like obviously to get an additional client in like medical dental services is worth a lot of money, like $60,000, so they can charge high retainers. But in most cases, to scale beyond $1 million with retainer model, that's insane. That's really, really difficult. Way more difficult than scaling to $1 million with arbitrage and single buyer funnel on the pay per lead model, right? Because here you're working with enterprise clients that's spending two, three, $4 million a month. I'm working with a business loan company that's spending like around 5 million a month because they're just so large. They got like 200 people in a call center. That's why they only need good leads, because they already have the sales infrastructure in place to convert those leads. They're gonna call them up in like 3-4 minutes, right? They have their own custom CRM, which they will give you disposition reports, basically reports telling you how many customers converted and all of this data that you can take into account, like which ad converted which lead that turned into which customer, right? Under which placement, like was it Facebook Reel, was it Instagram Reel, was it feeds, right? Was it like shorts, right? Was it your story? All of this data is tracked. It's a way more scalable and cleaner business model. And I swear to God, some of the legends in the retainer space, like one I can think of, like Cameron England, absolute fucking beast, right? He would probably be like at 2 million a month right now if he started with the pay per lead model, because essentially, like Hormozi said, right, it is the vehicle that makes such a difference. He was an S tier entrepreneur trapped in the gym model, so to say, which limited his growth potential, and now he's maximizing upon it. So don't make the same mistake. In terms of the operational flow, right, it's actually quite simple. There's not a lot of technicalities, the same technicalities that you need for retainer model and other things like ecom, right, can be applied. Like this is the same technical know-how on the same level. Basically, you set up a qualification quiz, right, where basically you get, like, based on what kind of answers a customer clicks on or a lead clicks on, they get sent to different buyers who might need different types of qualifications, right? So in this case, right, we're basically in the UK market with funding thread, so they don't really qualify on credit score, which is why it's not a really good example. But what is really good is that this whole business is not dependent on like your technical know-how. That's just like the basics, right? This business is 95%, like 50, okay, I would say 60, like majority of it is how good of a market you're in. Business loans is up there. Check out my vertical video, an hour long in-depth dive. And specifically, what makes it good is because of the offer, right? Think of it. Desperate people who need a business loan because they have no other choice. Why else would you get a business loan, right? They don't have a choice. They're desperate, and when they click on an ad, you want desperate people, ads like that. They're easier to sell to, right? If they have no other choice. That's why legal and business loan sectors are so nice and billion-dollar industries, right? The largest company in the MVA space, right? That's like one of the legal space, motor vehicle accidents. They're spending $300,000 a single day on ads, right? You cannot do that with retainer. There, I met a guy. He owns a $40 million business in the mass tort legal segment. Check out. I explain what that means in a vertical video, but don't want to dive too deep into it. But the main skill set you would need, if you already have it, right, is essentially crazy amount of creativity, right? Or able to be autistically good at media buying. Um, right. I don't know if you guys know Mark builds brands, but he said it well. Like most affiliates, right? A pay per lead is basically an affiliate model, right? Because you have pay per click, pay per call. It's like different models. But here you get paid on each lead as a customer information. So qualification criteria is like your credit score, right? 600 plus, or first name, last name, right? Where you live, what kind of business you have, LLC, sole proprietorship. And look at all these ads. This agency, I saw them on a perspective interview, right? They have like an AI system that can make like 400 ads a day or something. And they're running 220 ads. And those are the ads that are converting the highest, right? So impressions high to low. You can use adspy.com and get hooked, right? I have a bunch of other videos on that, on how to like do competitive research the right way. And specifically, they're doing really well in the UK because, right, in the interview they said 400k pounds, which is like 500 USD, which is quite the, like, it's really really good, right? Um, and to go back to our topic specifically, you want to have like the basics in place, right? So you have like the results and the landing page, right, that I'm showing you, right? This could be built out on Claude like so easily in under an hour, right? You don't even need to code to know how to do it. And then basically a lead distribution software like Lead Prosper, Lead Byte, that sends leads to the right buyers based on the qualifications like we talked about. Remember the credit score. And then you need an ad account, have an infrastructure set up. I made a video about that as well. Super important because it's like it's your whole business. What do you do when your ad account gets banned? I made a video on that. Verticals, right? Like you have a page set up on Facebook, super easy. Your targeting is on place. You have good creatives, good copy, good hooks, right? Your pixel is in place. Right, pixel is really important in the pay per lead industry specifically because all this money you're spending, you're feeding it back to Facebook, which is a data platform. And based on that information, they can make your lead costs higher quality at a lower cost the more you feed into the pixel, right? And what that pixel is essentially, you can ask Grok. Grok is the best at like this technical stuff because I'm also a technical idiot, right? I always just ask Grok. And specifically, it's just that thing that, basically, like if you have 100 grand spent on and get like 1,000 leads, it has 1,000 customer data points to get better leads at, right? So that's basically what the pixel is in the Meta Ads dashboard and in the events manager of Meta dashboard. And specifically, what you want to do, right? Have like the different types of profitability tracking sheets in place, right? Automation CRM setup. That's also like it's not go high level. It's a quite of a different setup, like I mentioned. But it's also a bit more technical, complex than go high level, and obviously, right, you want to have like the contracts in place. You want to transfer the leads in real time, notify your clients, and specifically also manage the lead volume and measure profitability. But a very healthy campaign profitability is always like 30-40%, right? 50% in the best case. That's where the goats are at. And specifically, what ends up happening on the back end is, right, these leads, right, after they get sent to the buyer has a CRM. It gets sent via API, and I don't even know what that stands for, but it's basically how laptops and software communicate to each other. It's their language, and via like a encrypted key, that lead gets sent in like a JSON format. That's like a coding format, super easy to do with Grok, right? Specifically to the client. And the client, they basically notify their salespeople. They call them, right, in 3-4 minutes. And the largest levers you can pull is to find good clients with good sales systems that contact leads within 5 minutes, or the sooner the better, best in like 2 minutes, 1 minute, that have enthusiasm, right? And you give them good numbers that are OTP verified. What that means is that the lead gets like a SMS verification, and they need to put their SMS in to verify their phone number. So the number is good. That increases lead costs, obviously, but sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. Depends on the industry. And if you get all of these things right, right, finding the right buyer, having great ads, then you can scale to multiple millions of dollars with 7 or 8, 10 primary clients. I know a guy, like one of my mentors, he scaled to $14 million with 7 primary buyers in the insurance space. It's absolutely wild. Um, and specifically, now, I'm also in one of the more lucrative legal verticals. So if you need any more personalized help, right, if you actually think this is a right strategic decision, to like move into this like specific model, because I guess like if you're watching this video, you're ambitious enough to like scale to 8-9 figures over the next 10-20 years, right? Because there are companies out there that have done it in 5 to like 9-figure companies. I've made multiple videos on that, breaking down how they actually did that. And specifically, if we were to break down the math, right? Let's say buyer B gets paid like $45 for these 400 to 600 credit leads. They might not be as good as criteria A leads, right? And then $20 for the 400 and minus. Because everything is like the main thing that makes a difference is how much, right, your client pays for an additional like lead to turn into a customer. So let's say you send them 100 leads, right, and they turn like 10 leads into customers, and that's a 10% conversion rate, right? So they essentially will track and see like how much did I pay for an additional customer that I got. and they're gonna have this data and compare like 10 to 20 different like media buyers or affiliates or pay per lead companies, right? And always be picking the ones and scaling up the ones that provide them with the best quality leads that convert at the highest percentage at the lowest customer acquisition cost, right? So if a business lending company, you're like the manager, right? You're working with affiliate managers. That's like a corporate position of a marketing manager. They manage like 20 lead gen companies and compare which one has the best performances and where I can get the customers, the business, the people who want to have business loans for the cheapest cost. So take a look. If you haven't understood all of that, actually just like stop the video, right, and try to like understand it, because it's actually quite simple. Like a fourth grader in Chinese, maybe like a second grader in China could understand the math behind it. My brother, he's better than me at math, and he's 10 years younger, and he's Chinese. I don't know how that's relevant, but specifically, if you compare the math, you will realize how stupid it was of a strategic decision to go into retainer. And I don't blame you, man, because I made the same mistake of just, getting these clients, selling websites for a grand, having them call me 3 times at midnight, right? Chasing them down with Loom videos. It's like I have so much respect for everybody that does retainer, because I understand how difficult it is to. I scaled to 4 clients and I like then switched to pay per lead around 6 months ago. So it is just easier, man. And I'm a lazy person. I don't like hard stuff, right? We're business people. We like easier stuff. We don't like to do hard stuff, even though it's necessary. But stop this video, take a look at specifically the breakdown of the pricing. I'm not going to go over it to explain it, right? I want you to understand the underlying foundational concepts behind this business model, so you can decide for yourself if this is worth your time or not. Because essentially, I think if you're somebody that wants to scale to like 8 9 figures over and take marketing extremely serious, if you have that ambition, then pay per lead is one of your only choices, because you're not going to be able to go past like 7 figures with a retainer based agency in 2026. What makes this business model so lucrative and scalable is because there's no client management, right? Everything is done through emails. I had a client basically offering to send me 300 grand. I didn't take it because it was a very difficult deal, right? One of my other friends did, and he got sent $330,000 via Stripe. It was a 9 grand processing fee that Stripe took, right? And all they had is a 35-minute meeting, which they discussed some details, right? He basically showed that he knows what he's doing. And afterwards, in an email, like 5 emails, they basically send them the money. Because these law firms are spending $3 to $5 million a month, some of the largest ones in the country. And if you actually want to learn how to scale beyond $100,000 in pure profit under 10 clients actively, then book a call, right? Text me on Instagram. I'm quite talkative, and I'll see you soon.